Well, you guys, welcome to an unplanned video. I was not planning on making this video, but you know what? I think I've about decided that my motto for this year of my life needs to be expect the unexpected because unexpected things keep happening. I lost my job, didn't expect that, but it happened. I lost Toby, didn't expect that, but it happened. And I definitely did not expect what has happened now. But before we get into that, I am also going to be giving you guys an update on how my second pop-up shop event went, but let me get you caught up on other life happenings first. So I actually need to give you guys a little bit of backstory first. So I did mention in my last video that my friends Chris and Megan had to say goodbye to their dog Bailey, who was an adorable little fluffy orange and white corgi, about a month before I found out that Toby was sick. And when I did find out Toby was sick, they did come over to visit with me and visit with Toby. And while they were here, they were texting back and forth with someone on their phone, and they told me that they had been talking recently and that they just felt like the house felt really empty without a dog in it. And so they had decided that they were going to adopt another dog, and they've been going back and forth with a lady who had a litter of corgis that she was looking for people to adopt. So they are getting another fluffy little corgi. This one is actually more of a brown corgi. I think it's like brown, tan, and white. I know there's specific names for corgi coat colors, you guys, but I am not a corgi aficionado. But this puppy is going to be more brown than Bailey was, but still a cute, fluffy little corgi. And they told me that they had decided to name him Theodore. So at this time, they also had kind of asked me if I thought I would ever get more pets after Toby. And honestly, I told them no, because you guys, I really do not do well at the end. Like, I am a hot mess at the end. It's ridiculous. And it's really something that's really difficult for me to go through. Now, I know a lot of you guys had commented, there's not a lot of people out there. Well, there's more animals that need loving homes than there are people who can give them loving homes. And so a lot of you are saying, we would really hope that you would get another animal, at some point. But honestly, also, it was like, everything's fresh. And so I've like, don't even know. In my brain, it was like, no, that's not happening. It's definitely not happening right now. I don't even want to think about it. And honestly, I want to be clear too that there is no right or wrong in this situation. Like, some people go out and get another animal right away. That's totally fine. Some people, may wait a year and then get one. That's totally fine. And some people may never get another pet again, which is also totally fine. But in the moment, it's just, when they ask me that question, I'm like, no, like resoundingly, no, I don't want to have to think about going through what I'm going through with Toby again. But I was super happy for them that they had gotten, or were going to get, this cute puppy. He's not old enough to be brought home just yet, but super excited for them. But there's one other thing that I don't think I told you guys about in the last video, and that was that the last day that I was spending with Toby, right before it was going to be time for the dreaded appointment, I was laying on the floor with him in my bedroom. That's pretty much where we'd been laying all day. Obviously, I'd been crying all day. I was laying there petting him, and then of course I started crying even harder because it was about to be that time. And as I was starting to cry harder and was petting him, he actually rolled over on his side, looked me in the eyes, and reached out and set his paw on my cheek. And of course, I started crying even harder when he did that. But in a way, like, I'm kind of like to think that maybe that was his way of saying, it's okay, mom, it's time. And it was definitely a great last moment gesture to be spending with him before the appointment. And it's just kind of stuck with me in my mind. And I promise there is a point to why I'm giving you all this backstory, you guys. But first, let's talk about how things have been going aside from that since the last time I saw you. So I have obviously been quite sad. I've been grieving. I've not really been working other than prepping for that pop-up shop event and going and doing that. And I will say that it has gotten to the point where I was getting a little bit, I don't know, anxious, upset, overly sad, sitting around in a house by myself. And my friend who was staying with me, or has been staying with me, you guys, is still staying with me, but she has been in a relationship now for a few months. And so she's not always here. She's here like way less frequently. So I was finding myself sitting in a house by myself for the first time quite a bit. And honestly, one day it just got overwhelming and I was like, I've got to get out of here. I also just really wanted to pet some fur babies. And so I decided to go around to some of the local PetSmarts here because all of the PetSmarts that have pets are partnering with rescue groups. And in this area, each store partners with a different rescue group. And so I was like, I want to go around and like love on some kitties and some puppies if they have puppies, even though it's usually mostly kitties. And so I did that. I actually went to 3 different stores. I went to 2 of them twice because one of them, they hadn't fully set up the event yet when I first went. So then I went back later. And yeah, and at some point, you guys, I got to thinking I really wanted to go back and visit the location where I actually had adopted Toby from. So I went ahead and decided to do that. I knew it was probably going to be somewhat sad, but also still kind of nostalgic. So I headed out there and I was kind of tearing up as I walked in, and I get into the room where they had all of the cats. And I just walked up to the very first cage, no like particular choice, just was like, I'm going to go down the line and visit with all of these kitties. So I walked up to this cage and I stuck my fingers through the bar, let the cat sniff my fingers, and immediately this cat starts giving me kisses. And for those of you who do not know or do not recall, Toby was a massive kisser. He loved kissing people. If you had exposed skin, it was fair game. He would kiss your leg, your foot, your hands, all over your face, but his favorite thing to do was to give people kisses on their nose. So the second I reach my fingers through this bar and these bars and this cat starts giving me kisses, I start crying. Totally start crying because I at this point had not had kisses. I'm used to kisses multiple times a day, and I hadn't had kisses in over a week, almost 2 weeks, right? Like, so I was just like, oh my God, cat kisses, thank you so much. So I'm sitting here crying, telling this cat, thank you so much for giving me kisses, petting this cat's cheek, bawling, and this cat reaches his paw through the cage bars and sets it on my cheek. I completely and totally lost it in the middle of PetSmart, you guys. Sobbing, snotty mess, like looking at this cat like, did you really just do that? Like, I cannot believe this just happened. Like, and this cat's now rolled over, letting me pet through the bars, his chest and everything, and I am just a hot mess. And so I'm like, what is your name? What is your name even? Oh my gosh. And I look up at the tag and his name is Theodore. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like thinking, I really wish they had you out of the cage. And I forgot to mention this particular rescue group at this particular PetSmart only does visits, like they don't do adoption events. They do everything by appointment, unlike the other locations in the area. So it wasn't like I could play with him outside of his cage that day or anything. Like I would have had to schedule an appointment. So I'm sitting there and I'm just petting him, bawling, and then I was like, okay, I got to share some love here. So I went along the line and petted all of the other animals, and then after a bit ended up heading back home. I was just so shocked, you guys. That paw hitting my cheek was just unexpected. Obviously, it brought back up the memory of Toby doing that the last day I spent with him. I swore I wasn't going to cry in this video, you guys, but it's clearly happening. And of course, I had to text my friends Chris and Megan after I left that store and told them what happened, and then told them this cat's name was Theodore since they're naming their new puppy Theodore. And also, interestingly enough, so like I said, Bailey, their corgi Bailey, was a fluffy orange and white corgi. Toby was a fluffy orange tabby. And their new puppy, like I said, is a fluffy brown, tannish white corgi. This cat that I was petting was a brown tabby, but had a lot of orange fur going on mixed in with his fur as well. So I was like, this is just so weird. So of course I had to text them. And of course my friend Megan's like, it's a sign, it's meant to be, Drea, it's meant to be. And I was like, LOL, whatever. Because like I said, you guys, I'm not good at the end. And I had been telling everybody, like, I am not getting another animal maybe ever. But anyways, so I go back home and I'm kind of thinking about it, and I was like, man, I really want to like thank that cat better for like giving me that kiss and putting his paw on my cheek. And it just really sucks that they don't do adoption events there, so I couldn't like have more interaction with him. And so I ended up reaching out to the organization and saying, hey, like when next time you guys are available, I would like to, visit with this cat like outside of his cage, if that's okay. And so they do like require you to fill out like an adoption application, even if you want to visit with an animal. And so I was like, okay, fine. So I filled out the application and they got back to me, and they all work, like everybody there is a volunteer. So they just have to see who's available when. So a couple days later, I ended up going up there and a lady met me up there. And right when we got there, I noticed the people were there to clean out the cages for all the cats. So a lot of the cats, including Theodore, were out just kind of roaming around in the room while the ladies were cleaning the cages. And so at first I was kind of like, oh, well, this is kind of crappy because he's probably going to be like so distracted because there's other cats there to play with and these other people in there. But I was like, okay, well, no big deal. So the lady's like, go ahead and go in there. And so I went in there and I sat down on the floor and was like, okay, well, we'll see if he's even going to come over here because he's so preoccupied. I kid you not, you guys, that cat came right over, snuggled up next to my leg, plopped down, and rested his head on my leg. And the ladies that were cleaning the cages were like, we've never seen him do that before with anybody. This is like a new thing. And he just laid there, you guys, and I like petted all over him, and he immediately gave me kisses again. And then I started crying, and then I had to explain to everybody why I was crying. And, they were just sitting there like, we can't believe he's doing this. And like, I was like, well, do you like to play? And so I picked up a ball that was on the ground and kind of dangled it, and he grabbed it and was kicking it with his feet. And so we kind of played and snuggled, but he just never left my side the whole time. Like, he didn't go, grab the toy and take it running across the room or anything like that. And they just kept commenting on how they never seen him behave this way. You guys, give me 1 second. I need to like blow my nose. It is running like mad from me crying. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, wasn't planning on crying in this video. If I had known, I would have brought tissues with me. Okay, back to the story. So he's sitting there and he's just snuggling with me, and they keep commenting on like how unusual this is. And I kid you not, you guys, when I say I'm sitting there, I'm talking with them, I'm telling them about Toby, snuggling with this cat, playing with the toy, the ball with him, and the lady who had come up there to meet me had been outside of the room doing some things, and she cracks open the door and hands me an iPad and says, fill this out, please. And I was like, what is this? Like, and I look at it and it's a contract for adoption. And I'm like sitting here like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm not here to adopt. I'm just here to visit, like to play with this cat, interact with this cat some more since I couldn't the other day. And he really kind of touched my heart by giving me kisses and putting his paw on my cheek. And just to be clear, I didn't actually say all of that out loud, you guys, but my face must have said it because she looks at me, I look at her, and she's like, this cat has never behaved this way with anybody before. He's clearly adopted you. And I was like, what? Like, so I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, give me some more time to visit with him. And so I looked at the iPad and it wasn't actually, like, it was kind of like a pre-contract. It wasn't the full contract, but it was kind of like, I don't know what it was. I didn't have to sign anything. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just fill this out. It was information I'd already given when I had to fill out the application online just to go visit him. So I was kind of like, I don't even know why I have to do this again. So I did it. I gave it back to her and I started like snuggling with him some more. And then I was like, I wanted to see how he was with being held, so I got up and I got him to get up by dangling the ball, and I picked him up and he like immediately started snuggling on me while I was holding him. And then he went and like rubbed his face like super hard against my face. And that, you guys, sent me into a tailspin again because my oldest cat, Ben, that was how he showed affection, with highly aggressive face-to-face rubs. And so when this cat did that, I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. And I just started bawling again. So I go back outside and I'm explaining to the lady, I was like, look, I didn't really come here with the intention to adopt a pet today. And, he's a very sweet cat. And I told her the story about when I had come up there the few days before and he had stuck his paw through the cage, put it on my cheek and all this stuff. And she was like, it's a sign, it's a sign. And obviously she's one of those people who adopts a new pet as soon as she loses a pet. She explained that to me. And so we were sitting there talking, and eventually, like, just talking with her, I don't know, some of the stuff she said just struck me in my brain with like, I don't know, maybe you do need another animal in the house because you've never not had an animal in the house. I had 3 cats at once. And every time I lost one, there was still another cat there. And I started thinking about it, and something popped into my brain that my friend Megan said that her therapist had told her when she was grieving the loss of her dog Bailey. And that was that grief is just love with nowhere to be put. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. So I don't know what happened, you guys. I think I completely and totally lost my mind, but she handed me a paper contract. I signed it. I bought some new cat things, and I came home with Theodore. And I am going to keep Theodore's name Theodore because it was such a coincidence, obviously, with Chris and Megan's new dog Theodore, but I am going to call him Theo. And if any of you are sitting here completely in shock right now and being like, wait, did I just hear what I just heard? Yes, I just said I have a new cat. I am going to introduce him to you right now. I will let you know that this is the first video I have filmed since he has been here, and it has not exactly gone smoothly. I tried to start it like an hour ago, and he kept trying to attack the what ironically is called a dead cat. So that's the furry thing that goes over the microphone on top of the camera. It looks very similar to the ball I was playing with at PetSmart with him. And so he kept trying to jump up and attack the camera when I first started to record. So I had to play with him, wear him out a little bit, and he has been laying here on the couch with me. Let me see if I can, we'll see if I can angle you guys down here to see without disturbing him really quickly. Let's see. You guys see him, I hope. Is he looking at you? Say hi, Theo. Hi. All right, you guys, I will get you some better footage of him here in a second, but he is definitely a cuddle bug. He has still been giving me tons of kisses ever since I got him home, tons of face rubs, and he is a little bit of a Velcro cat, kind of like Toby was. He likes to be wherever I am. He likes to be laying on me, touching me, and he has settled in pretty well. Almost right away, he was fine. He did have a little bit of an upper respiratory infection that they thought he was completely over, but when I got him home, he was obviously still very congested. He was sleeping with his mouth slightly open to breathe. So we are on some antibiotics right now, but other than that, he seems to be a very, very happy kitty. Now, one of my biggest concerns, obviously, you guys, is the plants. Because I just got lucky that I already had Toby when I started getting into plants. I slowly brought plants in. I put non-toxic ones on the floor. He didn't mess with them. I brought toxic ones in, set them on the floor while I could observe him during the day to see if he would mess with them. He didn't. I would put them up at night. I'd put him back out during the day, and he was just never interested in messing with them, and I got extremely lucky. So of course, getting a new pet, I was highly worried about what's going to happen with the plants. I did ask the adoption lady if his foster mom had any plants and had any experience with how he was with plants. She did not. So it was a big question mark when I brought him home. And so far, you guys, we've done pretty well. I will say he has rubbed, especially the first day he came home, rubbed on some plants. I just said, no, we don't mess with the plants. Let's get away from the plants. He hadn't tried to chew on any until last night. Last night, in the middle of the night, he started trying to chomp down on Maria's leaves in the bedroom. So my Aglaonema Maria, which, as I mentioned to you guys in a recent video, is one of the plants that I was questioning if I was going to keep in my collection or not, since I was trying to clear out some of the plants that were in my collection because I just had so many. And honestly, Maria might have to go now because he wants to chew on her for some reason. He hasn't really tried that much on anybody else. He's rubbed on some other plants, but Maria's the only toxic plant that he has messed with. And the fact that that's the only one he's tried to chew on is highly concerning. So either Maria's gonna have to go or I'm gonna have to move Maria to somewhere where he can't reach Maria. But like I said, all in all, so far, so good. Oh, and I probably should have mentioned, he actually is a slightly older cat. He's not even that old. He's just not a kitten. So that was another thing that was really kind of appealing to me about him, because I was thinking a cat that's older is typically less curious than a kitten and less likely to get into plants. And honestly, guys, if you don't have experience dealing with trying to train kittens, it can be exhausting. They still typically are on the nocturnal time clock, so they tend to keep you up all night long. Toby sure did for definitely the first 5 years of his life. Actually, he was horrible at night. Like, I got hardly any sleep. But so Theo is actually 1.5 years old. So once again, not super old, but old enough to be, as I think my friend Megan put it, a learned cat, right? So he's been very good. He hasn't really been destructive towards anything. We definitely love our playtime. I will show you guys some of that here as well. But yeah, definitely a pretty well-behaved cat, definitely a lovey cat, and he has done a ton more things that just were things that Toby did since I have gotten him. I cry every time he does it. And just to be clear, you guys, like, I am clearly not at all over Toby. I still cry a lot, but it is nice to have, like, Theo here and that companionship. and that love. And I love that he does a lot of the things that Toby did, and even that, like I said, my first cat, Ben, did. And in that regards, like I also wasn't looking for a cat that's exactly like Toby. No cat's going to be exactly like Toby or exactly like Ben. But Theo does have his own personality traits as well. But it was just so coincidental. And so I think what I want to do right now is get you off of this tripod and kind of introduce you to him a little bit more. And then I will give you guys an update on how the most recent pop-up event went. This was the second one, just a reminder. And we'll go from there. You guys, we actually spent the next 15 minutes laying in this position on the couch because I didn't want to disturb him. And this is the exact same position that Toby would always lay in whenever we were sitting on the couch watching TV at night. All right, you guys, so after that little snuggle session, he decided he wanted to eat. I went and did a little bit of cleaning I needed to do, and then I couldn't find him. And I walked upstairs, and here he is, just chilling on the upstairs couch by himself, which honestly is also something Toby used to do. I used to refer to this room as Toby's man cave because he would come up here whenever he wanted to have time by himself. And yeah, so once again, teared up a little bit when I came up here and found him sitting here. But here is Theo, looking super cute. And I will tell you guys, his cheeks, I don't know how well it's going to read on camera, and of course he's going to follow the camera, but his cheeks are so orange. They are so orange, and I love it. It is like one of my favorite features of his. It's just very orange tabby on the cheeks, and he is just super adorable, super lovey-dovey, as you can see. He really doesn't care about anything other than, like, pet me. I don't care if you're touching my paws. I don't care if you're rubbing my belly. Just give me all the pets, all the love. And yeah, just super, super sweet. I do know that filming is probably going to be a little bit tricky and difficult in the near future because I'm just not sure how he's going to behave. Like I said, today he was trying to attack the camera, and so we'll see how it goes. I'm sure you're probably going to see a lot of him, whether it be in a good capacity, like he's just coming to visit and say hi, or a bad capacity, like he knocks the camera over in the middle of filming, or whatever it may be. But yeah, super happy Theo is here. He looks like he's wanting to take a little nap right now, so I think we'll leave him be. Okay, so here comes Theo. Let's see if he would manage not to attack the camera. Hi. Okay, you're moving the camera. How about we don't attack the camera? Yeah, you wanna come just sit here? You can sit here. Yeah? Okay, he might just sit here while we talk. But I do want to give you an update on that second pop-up shop, but real quick, because I know some of you are probably wondering, well, Drea, you talked about doing all of those planty things in those places where you used to have like Toby's house in the bedroom and everything else. Are you not going to do that now? Some of you are probably like, I know you shouldn't have gotten rid of all that stuff of his, but honestly, you guys, Toby had way too many toys. And reminder, at one point I had 3 cats, so all of those toys were accumulated over the course of like trying to entertain 3 cats. And honestly, quite a few of them are toys that my ex-husband just like bought on a whim and brought home. And honestly, I was like, no one's gonna want to play with that. Like, I don't even know why you bought that. So we had a lot of toys that were not getting used. So I do not feel bad at all about donating what I did to the pet shelter. And as far as his house goes, once again, I had 3 cats when I got that. My brother-in-law built that cat house. It was a gift from my sister and him one Christmas, I believe, and it was built to house 3 cats. It is not necessary to have a house that big for 1 cat. Honestly, Toby used 2 perches on it, and really he used one 99% of the time and occasionally used the other. So I don't feel bad about any of that. I did get Theo 1 perch so far, and it is a much smaller perch. It is all he really needs. And I did also get a smaller litter box because the litter box I had was for 3 cats as well. So we are still going to, we are still going to do some things in those areas to commemorate Toby for sure. So don't worry about that. That's still going to be happening in an upcoming video. And because I have the smaller litter box, I actually figured out a way that I can still do like a shelving unit in my laundry room to store all the soil amendments and everything that I was talking about as well. And the adoption lady like told me about a different litter that I had never tried before that they don't track as easily and it doesn't generate nearly as much dust. So I think we will still be able to put plants in the laundry room as well. So plans from that standpoint really have not changed. Okay, I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was sniffing hardcore at something on the couch and then licking it, but he has settled down and snuggled up now. So let's talk about the pop-up shop event and how it went. First of all, the weather was 100% better than it was at the first one. To be honest with you, it was actually a little bit hot. I was definitely getting a little bit sweaty. I was set up outside in front of the place I was at this time. And quite a few of you actually came out to visit and say hi and buy some plants. So it was awesome getting to meet you. One person in particular is actually probably watching this video being like, no way, because we talked about pets while she was visiting Christy. I hope I have that right. I'm pretty sure your name was Christy. I apologize if I am getting that wrong. But we talked about pets because she had also, unfortunately, recently lost a pet and had also already gotten another pet. And she's probably like, what? Because like I was telling her I didn't think I was ever going to get a pet when we were talking. And so here we are now. Who knew? Like I said, you guys, my new life motto is going to be expect the unexpected. But yeah, so it was cool getting to meet a lot of you guys. The weather was nice. I did sell, like, in terms of number of plants sold, I sold almost twice as many as I did at the first pop-up shop. Money-wise, I did make a little bit more money, but not much. And part of the reason for that is because I am kind of overrun in terms of my common houseplant propagations right now. So I did bring a bunch of my common houseplant propagations as well, which obviously I'm selling at a much lower price point than the rare plants. But I did also, between the first pop-up shop and this one, I did sell all of the plants, I think all of them. Pretty sure all of them that I was talking about in the video where I was saying plants that I was going to move out of my collection. I obviously did not bring Maria because Maria was still a question mark prior to getting Theo. She's kind of still a question mark, you guys. We'll see what happens. But all of the other ones I talked about in that video, I have brought to the first pop-up event and this one, and I have sold all of them. And so, yeah, so that's great. That's helpful. So definitely slightly more successful than the first one. Still not as many plants and as much as I would have liked to have sold. But once again, people like have to get to know me. They have to start to hear, you know, hey, she has really good plants. All those kinds of things. And I did do a better job at this one of talking to people about my services like plant sitting and things like that, because I really just was so focused on talking about the plants and selling the plants at the first one that I didn't even think to like really talk about that a lot. So hopefully I will start to get some of that business as well, especially since now school's out and people are going to be traveling a lot. And so, yeah, I will say there was one unfortunate incident, and I'm pretty sure I gave this girl my card and mentioned I had a YouTube channel. So on the off chance she is watching this, the girl who bought, let's see, you bought I believe a philodendron Florida ghost and a Syndapsis exotica. And you mentioned that you owned a Pomeranian. We talked briefly about plant sitting and pet sitting. This girl, you guys, went to pay with Venmo. She was having a hard time getting the QR code to scan. She got it to scan. She asked me what was my total again. I told her the total again real quick. And then I turned around to collect cash from another lady that was buying a plant. And by the time I finished the transaction with the lady that was paying cash, I turned back around and this other girl was gone. At that point, I went to check my phone to make sure that the Venmo payment had gone through. It did not go through. I do not think this was intentional, you guys. Just want to be clear up front about that. I think she thought it had gone through. I was preoccupied. She was going to meet a friend whose birthday it was. And so she just left thinking everything was okay. And the money didn't come through. And this wasn't a case of like failed payment. So it wasn't like, you know, Venmo was like, oh, there's no money in the account and this failed. I didn't get anything in Venmo. I didn't get her name in Venmo. I didn't get anything. It just didn't come through at all. So if you are watching this, please reach out to me either via Facebook or Instagram at Aloha Plant Life, or you can contact me through the Contact Us page on my website, Aloha Plant Life, so that we can get this squared away and everything. I did also post in all of the local Facebook groups, you guys, about this, trying to find her, and everybody has been super helpful in all of the local Facebook groups trying to help me out with finding her. It wasn't a ton of money because, you know, there were some people who spent like hundreds of dollars, so at least it wasn't that. It was only $55, but still, It's $55. I'm trying to make a living here. And that's another reason why I'm saying I'm pretty sure it wasn't intentional. If it was intentional, I think she probably would have grabbed like as many expensive, highly expensive plants as she could. I honestly think this is just a situation where she thought it had gone through, it hadn't gone through. Hopefully she notices it at some point, or hopefully she sees this video or sees the post in one of the Facebook groups. That was really the only major hiccup during the day. Other than that, everything went pretty well. Now, I do have another pop-up shop scheduled for the 3rd, so how many days? 5 days from now, I believe it is. And so, yeah, that one is going to be back at Sunnyland Furniture, which is where I did the first one. But if you'll recall, the first one was supposed to be outdoors and we had to move it inside. And so we didn't get a lot of the traffic for that mall that's next to their store. There's just a lot of people going in and out of the mall, see what's going on and pull off. So they are going to be grilling out again this Saturday, and pretty much everything's going to be happening that was happening before. There's going to be a blood drive going on. I'll be there selling plants, and I think there's one other vendor that's going to be there. I can't remember who. And so the weather does look like it's going to be good again. So hopefully we'll be able to do it outside, and that should get a little bit more traffic going in. So all in all, pretty good. And as far as the plants that I sold goes, well, obviously, like I said, I sold a lot of the common ones that I brought. So that's good because I needed to make space. And it's still money. You know, it's still money, but they are smaller margin, cheaper plants, which is no big deal. But as far as which of the rare plants I sold, what I sold at this one was like completely different than what I sold at the first one. So I still don't have a good idea, you guys, of like what's selling well, what's not. Ironically, because one of you had mentioned it seemed like at the first event that I sold more like climbing plants than like crawling plants or upright plants. Ironically, it was the opposite at this event. I feel like I'm using the word ironically incorrect too. Some English major out there is probably like screaming at the screen right now. So my apologies if I'm using that incorrectly. But yes, we sold a lot more crawlers at this event than we did other plants, and just in general, and a lot of upright plants. So it was kind of interesting to see that. I definitely still have way too many plants. I'm just looking at them like compiled in the kitchen right now. So I really do need to clear out some of this inventory. I do have the next Airway to Asia shipment is actually arriving. It's supposed to arrive this Thursday. It does have completely new plants that we have not looked at, that I have not ordered from them before in that shipment. So I will film the unboxing of that for you because there is one plant in particular in there that's really hot right now. Like everywhere I turn around, people are talking about them. So I'm interested to see how those look when they come in and how well they're going to sell. So we will be doing that together. I am trying to get back into the swing of making videos. Like I said, this was not a planned video. This was just me trying to give you an update on how I'm doing from the Grieving for Toby standpoint and to introduce you to Theo. So I'm kind of not trying to force myself to adhere to a video schedule. That's not the right way to say it. I am trying to get back into, I want to do, our regular Saturday videos at the minimum. I think you're probably getting this one on a Wednesday because it kind of was an impromptu one and I figured why not. But I want to get back to at least just every Saturday doing a video. What I mean by I'm not going to lock myself into a schedule is I had planned out what video was going to be released each Saturday before what happened with Toby. And I'm just mentally, like a lot of the videos I had upcoming require a lot of research and stuff. And I'm just like mentally not in the headspace for it right now. So I'm trying not to lock myself into, I have to follow the video order that I'd already outlined. And if there are chances for impromptu videos where I'm like, oh, well, this would be fun. This is happening right now. People might like to know about this. I'm going to film them. And that's pretty much how it's going to go right now. You will still eventually get all of those videos that require a little bit more research, a little bit more sciencey type videos. You will get the beneficial bugs video eventually. I know I keep talking about it, but right now I'm just trying to, respect my mental health state right now and just do what works for me while still trying to get back to work. And I do know that I am in a fortunate, I guess you could say, situation right now that I don't have my day job anymore. So I am able to take time off where needed. But at the same time, I don't have my day job anymore. And I am trying to transition into making enough money to live off of to not have to go back to a day job. So I can't just take a ton of time off, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so that's what's going on. And one other quick update, the merchandise that I mentioned that I had ordered samples for, It's been in production for like 3 weeks. I don't know why it hasn't shipped. It said it was supposed to get here between the 18th and I think the 23rd. It's now, so no, maybe it was between, I don't remember, 18th and sometime before the end of this month. And so I'm kind of like, why isn't it shipped yet? So I am going to reach out to them tomorrow and kind of see what's going on with that so that I can get that launched, because I know a lot of you guys were interested in that. And so yeah, I'll definitely update you as soon as I figure that out. But really, that's all I've got for you in this video. I know it was kind of a shorter one, maybe, honestly. I don't know how long it's going to be when I edit it. But yeah, like I said, really just wanted to tell you how I was doing, introduce you to Theo, and then since that pop-up shop had happened, wanted to cover what was going on with that. But I do also want to let you guys know that I do appreciate all of your nice condolences that you gave, all of your sweet comments that you posted about Toby on the last video. I greatly appreciate it. And I think what we will do to end this video is I will cut in some clips here of Theodore's first few days home and him playing and various other things, so you guys can kind of see a little bit more of his personality. But want to thank you guys so much for joining me today, and if you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to click that like and or subscribe button. And here's a little bit of a closer look at Theo. So this is right after he had stuck his paw through the cage and set it on my cheek, and you guys, I'm pretty sure he would have just let me sit there and pet his chest all day long. And this is when he immediately snuggled up to me when I first got to meet him outside of his cage. And after bringing him home, it became very clear very quickly that he is very much a window cat. He really enjoys watching people walk their dogs, ride their bikes, likes looking at the birds and the squirrels, just definitely enjoys observing the great outdoors. But his second favorite thing to do is definitely playtime. So I did get him this one string toy, which for some reason he prefers to play with it most of the time while laying around his scratching post. Go figure, I don't really know why. He also, on occasion, plays with it by himself, even if I'm not controlling it, which I think is just the cutest thing ever. And then I did get him one of the balls that is identical to the one that I was playing with him when I went and visited him outside of his cage. He also really enjoys it when I wear sweatshirts because, well, sweatshirt strings. It's a great toy. But when he's not looking out windows or playing or eating, like I said, he is just constantly snuggled up on me in various different positions, just constantly wants to be touching me, laying on me, but definitely a super cuddly kitty. And that's your introduction to Theo. Welcome to the fam, Theo.